having a kid, how does that change things, or does it?
I don't
like. Does it ignite some other thing inside of you? Like, oh, like when your kid, girl,
boy,
boy.
Yeah.
So when he's like old enough that he's like, hey, at school we're talking about what our parents do. Like, what do you do? And you like have to be like, oh yeah, like here's what I do. Do you know what Daddy used to do?
Right.
And like you show pictures, and you're like, oh, Daddy made beer, and like it's this thing. Like, how in your head, how do you go down that road?
That's great.
It's a very big question.
Huge,
especially
huge question.
After several beers. Sorry.
I definitely want to take a different approach from my dad. Love him to death. Great person, great inspiration.
I'm right there with you. What did your dad do?
So my dad owns his own business. He did it because the person he was working for was retiring, wanted to keep it going, so he sold it off to my father. So my dad does. At the time, it wasn't graphic design. It was just advertising.
Right.
So working with photographs, fixing them up, all things like that. And then he really adapted to, he got one of the first, Macintosh before it just became Mac.
Is he still around?
Yes. So, he got into that, kind of pioneered himself into just being a well-rounded graphic designer, working in an advertising agency. He owns it. It's just him. He just works alone. But he just works kind of more so with like private big businesses, things. And he started to downgrade a little bit as he's getting older.
Right.
He's in his, early to mid 70s. So he's trying to, slow life down a little bit. But when I was growing up, I was very much involved with creative things, whether it's music, art. I was also still am a very passionate hockey player. I remember I had these dreams of playing in the NHL when I was a kid. And I think there might have been a moment where I could have.
I think you could have.
I could have.
You chose not to.
Yeah. We'll have a few more beers and you'll disagree with me. But he was just of the mindset like, no, he's like, don't do what I did. Because I also wanted to work for myself. And in fact, at one point I wanted to take over his business. Granted, I was like 13, 14. Sure. I want to take over his business. And he was just like, no, don't do it. He's like, don't own your own business. He's like, you're better off getting a 4-year degree, going to college, working for a corporation, getting health insurance, blah, 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 all these things. And to agree, yeah, that really has kind of paved a life for myself, but I don't feel fulfilled in any way. The money's great. Take care of my family, like I said. But there's something missing. And if I can give my son any advice, granted, it's funny because parents are like, oh, you can be whatever you want to be. Granted, okay, there's certain limitations, like if there's a physical limitation or something like that. Like if you really, like I also wear contacts and stuff, like if you really can't see, you're not going to be a fighter pilot and you're not going to go to space. And I remember even to this day, and sure, I don't know if my dad will listen to this or not, but to this day, I create artwork when I was a kid and I was so good at when I was much younger. And then I kind of, as I got older, I kind of moved away from it. But I remember I'd show him, I was like, hey, what do you think of this? Oh, yeah, that's okay. Like, what the fuck? Or like when I was in high school, I was in film and photography and I was taking these, and I remember for the holidays that year, like the only thing I want is an SLR. I just want a professional level camera. I want to get into photography. And that year for the holidays, my dad bought my sister's SLR cameras and I got the newest video game. I'm like, what the fuck? But so anyway, so he really kind of tried to push me into like a corporate environment. And like I said, yes, working for a corporation, there's perks to it. But I wake up every day unfulfilled. I do my day job. I'm actually bored with my job. I've even expressed that to my boss. Like, hey, what I do is boring. Is there anything else I can do in the company, blah, blah, blah. And even from that perspective, it's almost like dad again. It's like, well, why do you even focus on that? Just focus on what you're doing and all those other things. So if I can give him any advice, like, look, man, like whatever you're passionate about, like pursue it. Like pursue it to the nth degree, and if it doesn't work out.
If it fails, it fails.
Yeah, it fails. And as long as you develop yourself along the way, you develop necessary skills along the way outside of your passions, then you're going to be good, and you don't have to make XYZ dollars every single year. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And I'm not saying that you just pursue only the things that make you happy, because we've also kind of seen the flip side of that. Sure. You kind of live in an echo chamber and blah, 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 all those things. But yeah, just do what you want to do, man. And I really hope I can show him some of these things that I've done in the past, and maybe some of that will ignite a flame under him, or maybe some of the things I do in the future.
Yeah.
If I do pursue going into whatever it is that I decide to do here, hopefully that ignites a flame in him and he wants to do those things. And then the other thing too is like, don't listen, to the critics.
Don't listen to anybody. Don't even listen to me.
Yeah.
Like, just don't listen.
Yeah. Because that's again, like the biggest thing I've kind of taken away from it is that, there's plenty of people that want to offer you advice or they want to critique you and this and that, but they've never lived in your shoes.
Yeah.
They'll never know what you're actually truly thinking or how you truly feel. I mean, for a minute there when we did close shop at Queen City Brew and we got all this hate from the people, like I internalized that for a moment and it really does affect you because it's like, I'm still a real person.
Thank you for watching. For more episodes, more importantly for full episodes, go to your favorite podcasting platform, look for Cincy Brewcast, and subscribe to the show. New episodes drop every single Monday, and you can see why we like to call it the voice of Cincy Craft.